One.
Okay, this video we are going to cover page 3 as well as the legals of the classified section. So whatever remaining classifieds you have left over from page 1 and 2 should be the very first thing on this page. Then we will start with the legals. It's always best to start with the longest legals that you have or the legals that you have already ran for the just so for the ease of cutting for the affidavits. So when you're in them, you want to make sure that you're in the text box when you shift the box. Otherwise, it will adjust the legal notice headline at the very top. So we're going to bring it up. Every legal that we publish must have a publication date. It must correspond with the dates provided by whoever sends the legal, which should be on the piece of paper. And it must also have this legal notice posted at. So once you make sure all of that is correct by the legal paperwork that you have, then we're just going to tighten these up to where they take up less space. Space is money in the newspaper world. So this page is probably the most where it's like a puzzle, and there's the right pieces for the right place and the wrong pieces for the wrong place. You're going to see some very similar legals. So just looking at it, these two legals were extremely similar in the fact by their name and by the type of legal they were. But I can see in looking at them that right here, this is for Kelly Kearney, and this is for Sydney Bryan. If you see a legal that's for the exact same thing, make sure you ask somebody or say something. Don't just take it for granted. So the legal notice in the black box up here at the top replaces the need for the legal notice to say legal notice the very first line. We took out the first line indentation for everything else, but for the legals, we need to leave it in there. The legals need to appear as much like the document they send as possible. So that's why this legal that they sent us had no indentations. So that legal is going to be have nothing. To the same point, this legal right here for the county commission, the different lines are bolded. So in the document, it's bolded. But we can tighten up the names as they appear within the document. So we're just going to tighten that up and then put a comma. So it makes it clean and not so all over the place. I'm not even sure how that happened. So we'll highlight it, press no style, and then legal, and it justifies it. Then again, we can go through, make sure that there's no extra spaces, extra returns. Just looking at it, it looks tidy. Then we double click on the text box and bring that up. If we were not to double click, it would leave us, it would mess up the header. So again, there's an extra space in this legal, and then we have this really awkward A in its whole line. We charge the people by the line for the legals, and so while that would be a great way to make money, it also makes us appear very unprofessional. So we don't want to eat these people alive with an A in the middle of it if that's just the way it turns out to be. So this whole section right here is not to be bold. So we're going to just come to the style sheet, press no style, press legal, and tidy that up. We have one more legal up here at the very top. We'll bring it over here on the page. Again, it has the legal notice at the top. We don't want that. And this should have the paragraph indentations, and it didn't. Sometimes it's aesthetically pleasing to return the two dates on two lines when it breaks up awkward, but that's totally a personal preference. Whatever you do, just try to use the least amount of space to make it work. So again, it's easier to start with the longer legals. As you can tell, when I moved this legal right here over, the header was not grouped to it. So make sure it's grouped. Now we will go back to moving this long legal up. if you're in the text box, you can get to the text box, I should say, by just double clicking on the text box. And if you watch over here, it moves from your cursor to your text tool. So then we're going to bring this down. And one other item that you will use all the time laying out pages is to draw a text box. So by doing that, I'm in my text box tool and I just click and drag down. You can adjust that size of that text box anytime you want. So now to go over here, you're going to go from the T to the link. You're going to click off, and then you're going to click from the box you want it to go from to the box you want it to go to. Then we can come back and click over here to the text tool again and drag it down so we can see the entire document that needs to be published. Bring it up, and there's plenty of legals to choose from. So I just try to bring one over, and then I know I need something longer, and this one happens to be the key. So we can just tidy this up by moving these two things up, and there we go. We'll go ahead and get this third space done and get it filled up. So we want as few fillers as possible. So we're going to go ahead and try to, when you do have two fillers side by side, like you're going to at the bottom of this 5th and 6th column, you want to try to balance it out to where you can run one filler all the way across instead of a separate one. So for the purpose of this, by bringing that in and using the line indentations, it'll balance that out. On the side of this page, there are tons of fillers that we can use. You just want to make sure to not use the same filler twice or on opposing pages, so that way it doesn't look repetitive and like that's the only filler we have. So now I have these 3 legals that I need to put on another page, and I will cover that in another video.